What's up, guys? This is K-LO, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome back to another episode of Community Kitchen, where we are cooking up the latest and greatest gaming news headlines, and who better to join me today than my sous chef, Aden? Why don't you say what's up?
As always with the Borderlands episode. Ayo.
We
Always
salute
gotta.
you. We salute you, Sir Borderlands. But before we get into any and all that, because today is going to be a ranting episode, and I apologize in advance for that, but we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you guys who likes these videos, who subscribes to Game Sandwich, and who joins our Discord. Links to that is all in the video description down below, where we're talking about our favorite games 24/7, 365. Now, we're talking about games today, but we're talking about a specific game, a specific person, I believe they were referred to as a sweet summer child by somebody. Not going to name the somebody, but somebody out there named them a sweet summer child. Randy Pitchford, Borderlands 4, a story that just keeps on evolving. Today's episode is, we're going to be talking about this whole mess, and then there's a bigger picture thing here we got to discuss in gaming. So, Aden, can you set the scene, so to speak, and give the viewers the whole deal? Because there is a lot here to talk about.
Okay, so for starters here, Randy Pitchford, while back, it was on May 13th specifically, if you want to like pull up that post or anything in editing and post.
Bam.
In a video posted by Nintendo of America, they talked about like price and everything with the Switch 2 and talked about like price with Borderlands and everything. And on that video, someone commented saying, "Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. That you are the CEO and you have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher," which, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. Can't speak on that, but I would assume that the CEO of a development company probably has at least a little bit of sway, especially a development company as big as Gearbox. I imagine the CEO has some sort of sway with the price a little bit when it comes to 2K's, like 2K for the publisher and everything. But to this, Randy Pitchford responded saying, A, it's not his call, and B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. This sparked just a media frenzy. I even made my own video about it if you want to check that out and everything. It is a lot.
We were at PAX whenever they did this whole deep dive into Borderlands 4, and the idea or the notion of price came up, and even then he was a little bit on the fence of saying, like, he's trying to skirt around it. Obviously he can't dish all the details because there are other checks and balances that need to happen, but again, this notion came up, and I feel as if in the name of optics, in the name of just kind of like, no response here is better than the response he gave. Like, it would have been a whole lot better if he just didn't reply, right? Or am I crazy in saying to not do that?
He could have simply just said, "I will see what I can do."
Even
And
that,
everyone would have just been like, "Okay, that's fair. Whatever. Maybe he can do something, maybe he can't, you know?" But instead, he said the worst possible thing. And
so
honestly,
bad.
like, so many people have made videos specifically talking about how this just coincides with everything else that the gaming industry is going through right now, and how a bunch of publishers, a lot of developers are trying to market their games as like these $80 massive experiences that people are going to love and there's going to be no flaws with. And that's 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. The game isn't typically worth that price. A lot of people have specifically spoken about Nintendo so far, saying that there's no Nintendo game that is worth $80 at all. So really, it just like comes down to like there's also companies that have made games that cost less, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. You played that game. Everyone says it's amazing. It was $50 at launch, and it was on Game Pass. There you go.
there's other games coming out later this summer. Mafia: The Old Country. I believe that's going to be $60 or even $40. Correct me if I'm wrong somewhere in the comments or here live, but there those games like Clair Obscur and Mafia,
It'll be $50.
50 right in the middle, perfect. Clair Obscur is very much an anomaly in the space where it's like they did everything right. They hit every metric, and it's very much just like a 1 in a million shot that game hit, and it hit the way it did. For Borderlands 4 specifically, AAA game, I can justify an $80 price point whenever I see something that tells me like, all right, this is transformative to the franchise. This is something that is different. This is something that is going to blow my mind. And I'm more of a gamer where I'm like, I'll spend the money if I know I'm going to spend hours on end in this game. Where it's like GTA 6. I'm fine, honestly, paying the $100 because I know I'm going to play that forever and ever and ever and ever.
Oh yeah,
Borderlands,
especially with online.
especially Borderlands 4, whenever I've seen it and through, it just looks like more Borderlands. And I'm saying to myself, and that's not a bad thing. I love Borderlands, but am I gonna sit here and be like, oh, $80 justifies it? I don't think so. But at the same time, I want to give Randy his credit. He doesn't completely control it, but much like you said, there is influence there. His name carries weight, and whenever you're in this position of power to dictate prices of games or at least have an influence on them as much as he says he doesn't, just don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just put the press release out. Borderlands 4 gonna be $80, and then just do whatever you want after.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
mean,
bad.
the thing with me, and that many people have agreed with, and I've seen comments on videos that I've made that people agree with and everything, is that Randy Pitchford has a serious problem with like flip-flopping on things.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Oh, hey, I'm going to do the extreme one way or I'm going to do the extreme other way." And then at a certain point, it just doesn't work anymore. And we're seeing that now. We are seeing that now with this. He went to the extreme with that, called people out, said they aren't real fans if they don't put up with an $80 price tag. Okay, cool. Now, opposite side of it, he, instead of releasing a formal apology or anything like that, or doing anything heartfelt, he decided to just respond to someone's comment on another post of his.
I think I just
He
read
did a
this one.
post. He did a post. It was he just said, "A few years ago I saw a video of a cat messing with a crab, blah blah blah." That stuff, like just talking about the platform. Then someone commented, specifically user Anthony Mirage, and they said, "I saw something crazy too. A CEO of Gearbox Software made players feel bad and alienated them for not wanting to pay $80 for his game. This platform is wild."
Mm-hmm.
To that, Randy Pitchford just, whew, you can read it. Kevin will post it. Here you go. Like I forget in my videos I point the other way, but over here, Kevin will put the whole post. You can read it, or you can go to Randy Pitchford's uh, Twitter account if you wanna read the whole thing. But it is long, over 300 words.
I believe the exact word count was 557 words in a lengthy tweet.
Yeah, exactly. But in this though, he specific like some things I want to point out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, spare you all, but he did say specifically opening it up with, "I am sorry there was a misunderstanding." And a lot of people just didn't like that because it immediately just puts the blame on the consumer, saying, "Hey, sorry that you guys misunderstood me. What I said wasn't wrong. You just misunderstood me." There we go. But he also went on later in it saying specifically, "I was just trying to help someone who I thought was sincerely worried about us and looking out for us." You weren't helping them. You weren't trying to help them. And it's very obvious. If you were trying to help them, you would be like, "Hey, I can see what I can do maybe," or "I'll talk to the publisher," or anything at all. But instead, you said you're not a real fan if you don't put up with the price tag. That's not help. That's
It's
just
not.
bullying, basically.
That's basically calling your consumer base like poor and like just saying, hey, like what he said. He said it exactly. He's like, real fans will find a way. I that is where I kind of get like I don't know what the word is, not defensive, but like I guess triggered where it's like those same real fans you're saying to just find a way to like play your game and pay the $80 are the reason you're in this position in the first
Yeah.
place. They're the reason why you're on a Borderlands 4. You're the same reason why Gearbox is where it is. It's because of the fans. And to just say like, hey, I worked at an ice cream shop in Pismo Beach and like I paid $80 back then. Different time, first of all, in life, and different economy, different everything. And there's another tweet where he's like, thanks for playing my games, thanks for the engagement and all, but some of you really need to find perspective and chill the F out.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you keep saying these things,
Take
you know?
criticism, good or bad. Take everything that people say. You know, obviously there's people who are gonna hate. There's people who spew hate comments and just be like, "Oh, I hate it, just to hate it." There are people like that, but there are a lot of people who want to give genuine criticism and everything. But you know, if you're constantly looking for someone who's going to be like, "Hey, I'm going to just solely talk nothing but praise," like some Borderlands YouTube people, like YouTubers that I have watched before who literally can't say anything negative, and if they do, it's just something that the fan base genuinely agrees with, so that way they don't get ousted by their fan base. But you know who you are
Yeah.
if you're those Borderlands YouTubers. There are three in particular that I can think of, but yeah, like Randy Pitchford, like he is. If if Borderlands fails, I feel like it will be solely his fault
Yeah. He'll
because
sink his own
of how
ship.
he flip flops on this.
Yeah.
But I also want to point out that that same user who commented originally, like responded to this post, and in another lengthy post. So have fun with that one if you guys continue reading. Here's another like 300 words for you. But to cut it short here on it, he said he opened it with, "If you respected the players as much as you claim and further have been doing this for as long as you claim, you wouldn't have said if you're a real fan, you'll make it happen. That's not the kind of mistake a good CEO makes, respectfully. Gaslighting and acting like it was the players who misunderstood you. What you said is not acceptable either. That's not an apology, that's a refusal of accountability. You're a CEO. Surely you've had at least some minimal training in public relations."
Well, this is where like I don't want to defend him, but like dare I say it, the people who want to play Borderlands 4 are going to pay the $80. Right? Like is that
Yeah.
crazy to say?
No, they will pay it if they really want it and they think it justifies the price, you know?
Exactly. It's more or less he shouldn't have said that. Like Randy Pitchford, the guy behind Borderlands, the guy who is a multimillionaire, basically just looking down upon his plebeians down below him, where it's like, you're just gonna eat it up because it is what you want. That is the optic that is bad here. And $80 games, to kind of talk about the bigger gaming thing, $80 games are going to be the norm. Prices are only going up, they're not coming back down. Like, that's just the world we live in. If you are in a position of power, like in any game developer, publisher, or whatever, like, you just got to understand this. Whether the prices go up, people will not be happy. The only way they'll be happy is if they go back down, which they're not doing. And like Phil Spencer talked about Xbox and their price increases, and he talked about it in a different way. He's like, yeah, this is the global economy, this is whatever, and it just sucks. Like, this is just what we have to deal with. That is a more real perspective on it versus like, I worked at an ice cream parlor and I still did it. Like, no, like that is not the case here at all. Oh,
Yeah. And you know what? There's one other thing that I do want to point out as well, just because we're talking about prices in a whole too here, but more so about Borderlands right now and everything, based off of Randy Pitchford. And so many people in the comments here, well, not many, but one person commented a bunch talking about the profits that Borderlands 3 made. And more specifically, they talked about how Borderlands 3 made a net profit of almost $100 million, which really, when looking it up, Steam revenue calculator, I don't know how accurate it is, says that it got a net revenue of $98 million, little over that, so 98,250,000 basically. And so yeah, nearly $100 million in profit here. And so asking people to make the jump from a $60 game that was Borderlands 3 and what I believe was a $60 game or a $50 game with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands,
Yeah.
both of those being $60, making the jump to a $20 increase to $80, that's a lot. That's asking a lot from the franchise, especially when your last two games, while yeah, Borderlands 3 sold a lot, it still was the most like badly received Borderlands game in the mainline series.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people, they can't justify this, especially when Tiny
No.
Tina's Wonderlands afterwards also kind of tanked.
Yeah, it's just the bean counters up above Randy, I assume, that want to squeeze the lemon dry and get as much money as they can out of it. And for as much flack as like Nintendo gets for Mario Kart World, at least for them, they're one trying something different with the open world, doing whatever. And let's be honest, this is the game we're going to be playing for the next 6 years. Borderlands 4, I give it legs for like what, 1 to 2 years? Like as far as like being like heavily relevant as far as like DLC and whatever. Past that, I don't see people playing it outside of like doing a speed run or modding the hell out of it and playing it again. Like
Yeah.
the $80 that Borderlands is not the $80 that Mario Kart World is. Just in my opinion, like it's just two different animals here. And again, you talked about the consumer and justifying it. I don't. Clearly, people are not happy about it. So, and then
Yeah, I mean,
we could
that's
eat our
all
words.
over.
Yeah, we
I
could eat
mean,
our
people are
words.
even complaining about what Call of Duty is going to. Like, people are talking about, like, also the repetitiveness in
Yep.
every single in every single one of these franchises. Borderlands, yeah, you're kind of mixing things up with, like, changing how the world works and how the movement works and everything. But it's still, at its base, it's Borderlands. People get that. That's part of why people have an issue with the price increase. It's the same thing with Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're going to just charge you $80 now next year for what, multiplayer and
Same
like
thing.
a 5 hour story. I
Yep.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
campaigns have gotten shorter in those games, multiplayer has gotten worse, and yet they want to ask for more money. And so it's like, you have to think about that. You have to, the consumers now really, really thinking about everything's worth.
Yeah, and like for Call of Duty too, it's like, yeah, I'll pay the $80 for like Black Ops 6 that just came out. This fall, I would believe, if the Call of Duty's still slated for the fall, it's going to become obsolete because the next best Call of Duty is out and all of a sudden people are leaving. It is very important moving forward for just gaming in general. People are going to be selective because of these high prices, like $80 back in the day could practically almost get you a game and then like another used one that'll last you like a year or whatever. And this idea of just find a way to make it work, again, you're alienating a lot of people. Like there are people like growing up in high school or whatever, like the youth of the world, that save up $80 to buy one game that lasts them a pretty long time, and they might not make that call to make it Borderlands 4.
Yeah, I doubt that they will.
Yeah. I
Honestly, I doubt it. A lot of people are going to end up waiting for a sale.
yeah. It just,
And
that's the
that is the
nature.
harsh reality. And a lot of people are going to be waiting for sales now too, especially with the $80 price tag on a lot of games that are going to be going forward, because like nobody wants to pay the $80 out the gate unless they know for sure it's going to be worth it. For me, that comes with like give me anything from Soft basically, and I know it'll be worth it because I put hundreds of hours in their games. Borderlands 4, I'm iffy on because Borderlands 3, yeah, I put a lot of hours into that game. I won't deny that.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that once I was done beating the game with the 4 main Vault Hunters, there was no replaying that story. I got so tired with anything that was the end game because the end game was terrible.
Yeah.
It was nothing but constantly rerunning the same stuff. And then you also did the whole DLC thing, and each one of the DLCs was okay, but they weren't amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect what they did. I respect what they did with like doing like raids and everything like that. But again, repetitiveness. They should have been adding a little bit more. Borderlands 2 is where they hit the nail on the head, and since then it's been going down content-wise.
Yeah. It sucks. And for the gaming executives that be, they know what they're facing as far as their fan bases and how people have a very short fuse to accept anything, outside of their comfort zone. It's a fine line to walk, and Randy Pitchford just straight up jumped off the cliff into the toxic vat that spilled then over into a vat full of sharks and then somehow into the lava down below. Like, it just got worse, and it's like, you shouldn't have sent the first tweet. You shouldn't have responded again to somebody. And it's like, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole, and maybe, I'm not saying it's going to be, like, crazy. Like, I still think Borderlands 4 is going to sell, and people are going to eat it up the first day. But maybe there's a few people in there who were hurt by what you said, and they're just off of your property now.
No, yeah. I mean, really, when it comes to Randy Pitchford, he has a big sway. More, not so much on the price. Like, maybe he can't alter the price. Maybe that's the case. He has no say at all. Maybe he goes to the head of 2K and goes, hey, I think we should put it at $70, not $80. And the, CEO of 2K just laughs in his face and goes, no.
I think
Sucks
that's
to
the
suck.
case. I do think that's
But
the case, but
that could be the case, and that's fine if that's the case.
the
But
response.
it's just solely the response.
Yeah.
That's all we're going for here. And like that's my nail in the coffin with it. That's like my final thing here is just like it's only the response. His power doesn't lie in maybe changing the price of the game. His power lies in the perception of what Gearbox is and how Gearbox treats its fans. And if the perception of Gearbox is that they hate their fans, that all because the CEO tells everybody, hey, we hate you, and you're not a real fan, then the community's going to listen to that.
Yeah.
Except for a few select Borderlands YouTubers.
Just a few. Just a select few.
It's just like Disney adults who can't accept that Disney messes up.
Yeah. It's exactly what you said, and I'm not going to yap any further because it just gets me more mad, and it's just like very out of touch, very like easy to say when you're a multimillionaire, and it's like, yeah, not everyone is, but regardless of the point, that about does it here for this episode of Community Kitchen. We hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, if you want more gaming content just like this, keep it locked to Game Sandwich for all your gaming news, rumors, and reviews. Also, it's the week of the Switch 2. It's almost here. We're going to be making content, I'll just say that, so keep it locked here for more Switch 2 stuff. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I've been K-LO, joined by Aden, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.